Well, hello everybody. Thanks for joining us again. Another episode of Where's Your Pin? This one I really enjoy doing and look forward to each week. I love sharing these locations that I go to. I spend a lot of time out in the forest, and when I'm out there, I do a lot of exploring. So when I do that, I'm doing my best to document those locations so that I can share them all with you and maybe improve your dispersed camping experience. If you've never been dispersed camping, maybe get an idea of where you can go. When you're watching these, you can look at the terrain, look at we'll give you some of our opinions of these spots, and it all works out. If you are watching and you have a location that you're willing to share with us, that's fantastic. Please drop it into the comments. We'll pull it up on Google Maps and take a look at it. Well, with that said, I'd like to open up the show by going back over a couple of notices that are still current on the Mendocino National Forest. Before I do that, though, every link that I'm about to show you and all these locations are already within the description. So if you're curious about what we're talking about, you don't have to take notes right now. You can refer back to the description of this video, and you can have a clickable link to a pin that's will take you exactly where you need to go. Right click that, hit directions to here, and you'll be there. The premise of tonight's show is car camping, locations that you can get a car into. Now, with that said, I don't mean a WRX. I wouldn't take necessarily what are those Infinity cars, little G cars or whatever. They're fairly low. Anyway, so you need a little bit of ground clearance. A stock Volvo would still make it. Even Erik's will definitely make it because he's got all-terrains. But you don't need to have anything crazy. You don't need a Jeep. You don't need a Toyota, 4Runner or whatnot. This show here is about just being able to get out there and have fun. So let's say something with a little bit of ground clearance, but very little experience. As the thumbnail says. So throughout this show, if you find that if you like the content that you're seeing, please, a thumbs up means a lot. Comments within the description or the chat are fantastic. If you like what you see, consider subscribing. We're trying to make this a regular thing, trying to launch videos of locations, things that I do while I'm out and about, multi-camera edits. I try and launch all of that stuff as much as I possibly can. So if you're like me and enjoy exploring the Mendocino National Forest, or say Indian Valley Reservoir, or anywhere in between, this is a great show to join. This is a great channel to subscribe to. Don't forget to hit the bell to be notified when we go live. So with that said, I want to go over a couple of things from the Mendocino National Forest website, again, within the description if you need to refer to them later. So let's go here and we go share screen, bing. So we'll call this the COVID closures. Entering or using the developed campground listed in Exhibit A. So basically you can't go into those areas. They don't want you anywhere near them, blah, blah, blah. They basically eliminated all excuses. If you scroll down to the bottom, they list the campgrounds. Here's Exhibit A, closed developed campgrounds. Now note it says developed, not dispersed camping. Developed campgrounds, dispersed camping, two totally different things. Developed campgrounds would be like Matheson Group Campground, Old Navy Campground at Lake Pillsbury, Oak Flat, Lake Pillsbury. Those are campgrounds. These ones here that are still listed, the Sycamore Grove, Camp Discovery Group Campground, Matheson Group Campground, Bear Creek Campground, Fuller Grove Campground, Navy Campground, Oak Flat Campground, Pogie, Sunset. And I do believe there's a few more related to the ranch fire a few years ago. I think it's Let's Lake Campground is still closed. We could spend a lot of time going over all of those, but that's not the premise. The premise of tonight's show is dispersed camping, not campgrounds. But I still think it's important to share this information. Again, the link to this forest order is within the description of this video. So I'm going to go ahead and close this one. We'll move on to the next one, which is the fire. So again, the fire restrictions are currently in effect until November 30th, 2020. So building, maintaining, attending, or using a campfire or stove outside of a developed developed recreation site or wilderness area is not allowed. Now, with that said, you're in a camp, let's say you're camping, campground that's not approved for having a fire in it, or a dispersed campsite. If you're not the one to ignite the fire, but you're still within the group, so to speak, and your friend lights a fire because we're camping, we got to have a fire. You are still just as culpable if that fire takes off. You're going to get in just as much trouble as the guy who actually ignited the fire. So with that said, if you are in a group and someone says, hey, I want to light a fire, strongly discourage you, or I highly encourage you to discourage them from doing so. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If CAL FIRE finds there's a fire burning and they take off with a tanker full of retardant, they won't land with that retardant still in there. They don't return home full. They return home empty. Guess who's on the hook for that bill? Not only the person that ignited the fire, but all the parties that are staying with there that are culpable, that should have spoken up and said, hey, you really shouldn't have a fire right now. It's not safe. There's been a couple of times when I've been camping, way back in my days, probably 20 plus years ago, I learned my lesson a couple of times where we thought, it's not that dry, it's not that hot, and the wind is pretty calm. Let's have a fire. Won't have a big one. And after the fire got established both times, not on the same trip, years apart, the wind picked up a couple of embers and threw them into the grass. Next thing we know, sure enough, it's not a raging fire because it's not peak fire season. The humidity is relatively high, but point being, we were scared out of our shorts because the fire was spreading. Fortunately enough, we had enough water on hand between our shoes and our shirts and the water and the shovels. We were able to extinguish those fires. But it is really easy for a fire to get out of hand. One more thing I might add to that is there was a time we were out target shooting. We didn't know it, but way back in the distance beyond our target, which we had set up a bunch of targets and we thought we had scoped out, we were shooting against a hillside. We had done our best to check everything out, and from the tree line to the start of a very steep cliff was not a very far distance. But somewhere in there was a steel plate. Someone, we don't know who and at what point, someone fired around and it ricocheted off that steel plate we didn't know about, and it sparked a fire. And fortunately, we were right next to a river. Fortunately, we had fire extinguishers. We were able to put it out. So our new current thing is if we go target shooting, or when I go camping and I'm target shooting, I personally require, if you come with me and we're going to use firearms, I require you to carry a fire extinguisher. If you don't have a fire extinguisher of your own, regardless of me having mine, I'm not going to let you shoot with me. I learned my lesson on both of those. Unless it's 100% okay to have a fire, I'm not going to. If you want to go target shooting with me, you better bring a fire extinguisher. So I think I've kind of beaten that one up a little bit. Oh, the last part I should add, though, is we're going to go, the exemption to this is, let's see, okay, so however, persons with a valid California campfire permit may use a petroleum campfire pit. So like a propane fire pit, like you can order on Amazon. They have these really cool fire pits with these little faux rocks and a hose that goes down to a 5-gallon tank. Stove with other gases, kerosene, petroleum jelly, all those, as long as they have a shutoff valve, and as long as you've raked the area very clean so that there's no combustible material, let's say within 10 feet. I don't know the exact dimensions. Hopefully somebody watching might be able to define that. You can have those, the portable campfire pits. The only thing I would comment on the campfire permits, or the campfire permits, forgive me, the portable fire permits that I find as a downside is I see people roasting marshmallows on those. Next time you're out, if you're with somebody who has one of those, take something that's, I don't want to say paper because it'll burn. I'm trying to think of something like, that's not very flammable. Hold it over the fire at a few feet for a few seconds or a minute or something and look at it. You're going to notice it's covered in soot. That's unburnt raw petroleum fuel. You're going to eat that. So don't roast marshmallows over a over one of those portable campfire pits. What I've done in the past is I've actually used my camp stove on super low and roasted them over that when I really, really wanted a s'more. That's what I did. I've also used my, what is it called? The smoker for barbecuing. Take all the parts off and where all the pellets spill in, and those make it epic because it's got a fan that forces air through. Perfect for roasting marshmallows. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into some car camping. So let's see here. This first one here, I believe this is one of yours, Erik. So I'm going to let you take the reins on this one. This is, I think if I remember, you actually stayed right. Oh, I'm sharing the screen, right? This is showing up. I got a technical.
Yes, this was the first camp I found after heading in on Bartlett Springs Road, which I took most of the way towards the Indian Valley Reservoir, and then found that backcountry road called 303A, and I headed kind of northwest on 303A, which took me to this camp. It was the only camp I found out that way for quite a ways. It was a beautiful drive. There was quite a bit of private property signs, but hardly any signs of humans out there, and just a lot of open land, and finally stumbled upon this campsite that made a beautiful home for an evening. And it's very open, exposed. There's no shade. The trees don't cover the campsite at all, as you can kind of see in the satellite view. But it's not too exposed as far as the wind. It would be an okay campsite for the most part. So
as far as wind goes, to me, I mean, I haven't been to this spot, but to me, it looks like a perfect spot to get away from the wind. Because you've got these hills surrounding you on both sides. There's a little bit of a valley, but it's not very straight. So it's going to make it hard for wind to really pick up speed because it's going to run into all these different, we'll call them roadblocks, the trees, the terrain, so on and so forth. How much issue did you have getting your Volvo into here?
That first day, I still had my air dam on the front of the car, and I smacked it numerous times on the terrain. And that made it tough. If you've got a newer car that's really low riding air dam, then yeah, you're going to have even more trouble.
Can you define air dam?
I still made it with air dam is the front valence of your car down below the bumper that drops it down low to the ground to kind of keep the air from going under your car as you go down the highway. It just makes it more efficient. A lot of new cars, even a lot of new trucks have the front bumpers pretty down low to the ground.
So I'm loading up an image. We talked about this car before. So you're talking about this part right here.
Yeah, I still have an air dam on that one. That's my other Volvo that I've
had for 20 years. So this is the other Volvo, which we'll talk about because you had a couple of questions last time, but I wanted to show what the air dam itself is. And that's this piece right here below the bumper, yes?
Exactly, that's it.
So when you go down into a transition, that's going to be the first thing to hit, and it's going to bottom out and snap off. So when you say that you had the air dam on, that's what we're referring to, yes?
Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
I did. I found someone else's air dam, looks like off a minivan, or I don't know what it was, that was sitting on the trail, and I didn't take it day one going in, but day 4 heading out, I took it home and threw it in the garbage, get some of the trash out. But someone else lost their air dam on that same road.
Good. Pack it in, pack it out. Well, good on you for hauling it out. So, can you just give us a quick summary of this vehicle? For one, before you do that though, if that front air dam wasn't on there, this looks like you could make it a fair amount of locations. Not all of them, but pretty much all of them we're going to cover tonight, as far as I can tell. This would probably make it.
I used to take this car in some places, and even though it's lowered, it would still get me some places. But not as well as my latest one with the all-terrain. Certainly, that little bit of lift with the taller tires helped quite a bit.
Absolutely.
So probably 2 inches different ground clearance between the two Volvos. And like I said, I have taken this one out to Lost Coast, where I was doing somewhat of wheeling, and had it in other places where I was using every bit of ground clearance I had. But it's nice having a lot more.
There's no cowboy pinstripes.
Well, not with this new paint. My old paint wasn't perfect, but this new paint, I'm not taking that car places I would have used to.
Yeah, we should light paint this car. It's real pretty. So the premise is not cars, but we wanted to bring this one up. But this looks like it's what you're more like take a girl out on a date Volvo versus my camping Volvo. Is that what's going on with this?
Well, it used to be my camping Volvo, but yeah, not so much anymore. So
Okay.
yeah, more car show dates, fun back roads. The thing's really fast, handles great. You know, it's a lot of fun, even though it's a wagon. It's quite a toy.
All right. So let's go back to that campsite. Now that we've covered the front air dam, because we got to remember, not everybody's going to know there's a lot of people on here, and I want to get as specific as possible to give them information. So this is within the Mendocino National Forest, yes?
Yes, it is.
Now, does the let's say the plants, because I don't know all the terminology of like the foliage, I guess it might be. Is it similar to what you might find on the way in on Bartlett Springs, where it's a lot of fir trees and pretty dry?
Yes, very similar. Maybe a little more green, but yeah, like we knew the fire came through there, so all the big trees are pretty well stumps, or just, you know, there's not much to them. But there's a lot of green on the ground down low, and it's certainly a little more green than Bartlett Springs Road, but not much. It's still pretty dry and arid in that sense. I'm not too far from Bartlett Springs Road, so terrain hasn't changed too much. But yeah, it was certainly getting a bit more green, and there's a lot of creek crossings heading out this way. Really little creeks, really easy crossings, but it was
so
moisture.
I just realized I should probably show the actual car that you drove, which so people can see that we're not talking about anything extreme here, except for you've added some all-terrain tires and removed your front air dam pretty much, right?
Yep, this is my 85 240 DL, basically pretty bone stock. I haven't done anything upgrading it for this other than I fit on the 27-inch all-terrain tires, which are 2 inches taller than stock, so they lift the car 1 inch, and I added an extra little half-inch spacer under the rear coil springs just for a little more lift. Other than that, it's bone stock ride height, bone stock suspension mostly. I added some more room on the roof with the roof rack I built. I took some Thule bars I've had for years and that motorcycle load ramp, and just kind of built some more storage space to get some of the junk out of the back of my car, make more room for my bed and inside.
So all these places that we're sharing, that the locations you've given me or provided me, an 85 Volvo 240 could get in there.
Yep, I made it everywhere I tried to go, and one times I had to turn back, where like this photo here, where the road was completely blocked by a bunch of large trees. You know, there's no way anyone's getting through that without hours of work clearing all that. And,
well, I don't know about that. Give me my chainsaw and my truck. I got you.
Well, people could have got through, but there, I don't know if you can tell the picture, there's about 8 trees a good foot diameter there. You know, I almost was thinking of dragging the first ones out of the way until I saw there was like 6 or 8 more, and they're all bigger than a foot in diameter. So that was going to be hours of work. And then come to find out, that just leads into private property. It was probably closed not long after this anyways.
Somebody fell all those trees to keep the pot growers out.
Well, I was trying to head north on this road when I was coming in, and private property steered me off the path. And I'm just a little north of where I tried coming into this, and but that section is closed off due to private property. So yeah, just south of this is private property, so I'm sure their owners are probably happy these trees are there, so no one's even trying to come onto their property.
Again, so I would with that. So I got 2 comments with that. One is I've said it before. In my personal opinion, it's 60% driver, 40% vehicle. I've seen people get some funky 2-wheel drive vehicles into places that I never thought they had a chance, but they made it. I've seen people that driving funky Jeeps that actually, you know, even a funky Jeep can do quite a bit. Still break them. I've seen little tiny transitions and the guy snaps a U-joint. Driving up the M1 up Whole Mountain, snaps off the metal brake line at the wheel cylinder in the middle of nowhere. So again, it comes down to driver mostly where you can get to. So
I had birds in the back of my head when I was out there, and it gave me confidence to try it, and I was pretty impressed. Everything I tried, I made it through with much less difficulty than I would have imagined.
So Eric, Overland Trail Guides is asking you, what's your range on that vehicle, on this 240?
Like mileage per tank?
Yeah, let's go with that tank.
Yeah, on the highways, maybe 250. I don't keep track that great. But out there, it's hard to tell. You're going so slow. I didn't keep that track of mileage. I mean, I know I did maybe 60 miles, burned probably more than half a tank, 3/4 of a tank out there.
Let's forget about MPG and let's go for overall range. Where did you fuel up? And then when you entered back on the 20, how much fuel did you have left?
I fueled up last, I think, it might have been Willits, kind of right at 101 as I turned on the 175. And then I made it through my whole trip. I had an extra like 3 gallons in fuel jugs, which I didn't need at all, but I had it with me. And I've used probably 7/8 of my tank. So most of my tank through that trip. Okay.
So you were able to do the entire trip with the fuel you had in the tank alone?
Yes.
The fuel tank?
And then tank? I didn't need my extra, but it's nice to know I had it.
Okay. All right. So let's minimize this. Let's go back to the map. So let's go with a scale of 1 to 10 in your opinion. What would you rate this at?
Well, it's a little bleak looking out there because that's where the fire came through. Like all the tall trees are kind of burnt out stumps, but you are not near anyone. It's so serene out there. It's you want to go dispersed camping to get away from people. Well, you're pretty far away from people out here. So it was a great camp. It was the least pretty of the 3 I found, I thought, but then again, they were all beautiful in their own ways, and this was definitely the most removed from other people, I would say. I felt I was miles from the nearest person. And
was there anything you really just did not like about this spot, or anything that it called out to you that you really did like about the spot?
It was nice having that burnt out car to use as target practice nearby. I'd stand up and set things on the car and use that as some target practice.
So you didn't fill it with 20 pounds of tannerite and then shoot
it? No.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. That's funny. Yeah, tannerite's fun, but just so y'all know that if tannerite goes off, the Forest Service and especially BLM, they will come looking. I personally think tannerite's awesome stuff. I've been around it when other people have had it. I've never purchased it, but I like watching it go off because I like seeing things go boom. I'm sorry. But again, especially not something you want to use during the summer. There is there was a rumor going around for a while that fire can't start from that. It's not true. You can ignite a fire from tannerite. So, at any rate, so this spot, go ahead.
This is definitely a campsite that it's plenty of room as far as it's pretty flat and wide there. You could probably park a few cars with your buddies and still plenty of room for a few tents or more. But there's not many choices out there. So if you happen to be aiming that way and find it already taken, you're probably going to have a bit more of a drive before you find the next dispersed campsite.
Yeah, after
campsite gets office since it's so far out there and kind of not much near it.
After watching or after last week's live stream, it seemed like there weren't a whole lot of dispersed campsites out in this area.
I didn't find as many as I would imagine. No.
Yeah, in my exploration so far, I found that most of them, there's a lot more of them up off FH7 and north of that. There's a whole lot of them. You could spend a lot of time there. So then we zoomed out, saw how far it is. So let's move on to the next one.
Sure.
So this is another one I do believe you stayed at, that we discovered last time was kind of under the trees, but it looks like tire tracks right in here. Excuse me.
This was night 2. This was not far from Penny Pines, and like I said, where the fire had come through again, and a lot of the trees were rather bleak looking, but there was a lot of green foliage down close to the ground, and it seemed like it'd be really tough to set anything on fire there because everything was really green and lush on the forest floor or tall tree stumps that had already been burned and not much left to burn.
So for clarity's sake, that was when you were there, it was that way. Right now, it might not be the same case. It's probably likely hotter and drier.
It's probably similar. I mean, if they'd come in and cleared the trees, they're definitely working in that area with that forest equipment and making all the trails safer. You know, all the OHV trails in this area are closed right now from the fire because they haven't gone through and made them safe enough for the public. And this is in that area that's probably not the safest place to be right now. But it was serene, no one down there. You know, I was kind of having some trouble that evening, Saturday afternoon, finding my next campsite. I was looking around Bear Creek, and there was quite a few people around there at that point, and all the dispersed campsites I was finding were already taken. And so I kind of wandered and found this one and made it my home for the night.
So what I like I haven't been to this spot, but what I like looking at the map is it looks like it's a little distance off the road. To me, that's really good for privacy, but also for dust. You get those guys that want to hot rod up the road and just be a badass and race around, which, you know, whatever. I'm not knocking them. I'm just commenting about it. The dust is a lot of it's filtered by the trees. You're a little further away. And especially being like on a slight turn, the drivers are going to be paying more attention to the turn than they are to, oh, hey, what's down there? Oh, and then the next thing you know, they're in your camp, which is going to happen. Be prepared for it. Just hopefully when they notice you, they turn around, you know, give you a wave and then say, sorry, turn around. That would be proper etiquette. If you haven't seen the live stream about dispersed camping etiquette, I highly recommend that one because we cover a lot of stuff that is not necessarily common sense. And definitely not within the Mendocino National Forest website. They don't talk about, you know, stay away from the road because of dust. So again, a link to this spot and the previous one and all the others are within the description. There's a whole bunch of links within the description for everything from Christmas tree permits to the fire restrictions, the Mendocino National Forest website itself, the BLM website. They're all right there in the description to make it really easy for you to find the information you need. It's all there. I try to make it really simple. Again, feel free to reach out to me if you've got any questions or comments. I'm not affiliated with, I don't work for, I'm not compensated by or incentivized or advised by the National Forest, BLM. I'm a guy that just is really good at getting out in the woods and finding new locations. Staying within the law, and then sharing this information with all of you guys. So use the links that are provided within the description to make sure that you're within the boundaries of the law also. So what other comments would you have about this site?
Well, yes, you're right. This site is a little ways off the road. It's a nice long flat stretch off the road there. You could easily probably fit 3 or 4 cars if you went there with a little group of friends and a few tents, no problem. It's decently flat, you know, and like I said, it's kind of a long stretch, so good amount of room. And right below this, the bottom of that hill is end road is a dead end where it dead ends into a couple of the OHV trails. So you're not going to get much traffic on this road. If you do, it's only going to be someone going on that OHV trail. And technically, since those OHV trails are closed right now, you're definitely not getting any traffic, and that's through this whole year.
Not all OHV trails are closed.
Well, but around here, just around this area, like the OHV trails at the bottom of this end road are closed, and the other ones in this vicinity, kind of around Penny Pines. But no, most of the OHV trails are open. But there is a small area that they highlight on the map. I think the list you posted a few minutes ago at the bottom of that also shows a map, and they have a bunch of yellow highlighted trails. And this is kind of that area where they have a bunch of those trails highlighted as off limits right now.
What did I do with those? Now that I'm thinking about it, I wish I had them accessible. Here we go. Just to toss something else out there, a little tidbit of information. When they reopen, I don't have them. When they reopen the Covelo Ranger Station, as far as I know, you can't go inside right now, but they have lots of maps, just a wall of maps, and several of the maps that I would highly suggest are the OHV maps. So if you want to know where the trails are, they have them listed by different districts, Upper Lake, Grindstone, so on and so forth. I highly recommend getting those maps. And then the one that I highly recommend is also the Mendocino National Forest fold-out map that is water resistant. I don't personally currently use any apps for finding these locations. I do plan to, but it seems to me that the going trend is Gaia. I'm not sure what it is. It's Gaia.
Okay.
Eric, I think you said you use Avenza.
Avenza Maps is what I used. Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of guys use what is it, OnX Hunt? I think it's all personal preference. I'm probably going to go with Gaia, but that's what works for you is what matters. Was there any sort of view from right here? Could you see anything? Like, I'll zoom out a little bit. Let's see, like where
Yeah,
you
it was.
are.
When you were there in person, there's trees all around you, but you can kind of see through the trees, and it's hard to tell, but you're almost on a little bit of a ridge. There's actually a decent view from there looking out of the trees, but you couldn't tell in photos that there's a decent view. But when you were there, it was actually quite pretty for the contrast of the burnout trees and the green on the floor. And
so
it was one of those, I was a little concerned there if there was a breeze. I wasn't too well protected, because you are on a little bit of a ridge, but it's not that bad, and I certainly had no trouble.
Is this area burned currently?
Well, yeah, it's where the fire came through 2 years ago, just like most of it, and that is where they have not cleared a lot of the trees. You've seen some areas they've gone through and cleared trees and made it safer to the public, and this is where they're currently doing that work. So they haven't. There's a lot of areas not cleared yet, but they're just marked. They got a lot of trees marked with blue stripes for removal. And some of the heavy equipment that I saw was all sitting around there.
So is there any other good, bad, any of the above comments you'd make about that particular spot? Difficulty getting in there in your car, so on.
Yeah, it definitely was one of the little tougher end roads going down that road. It wasn't very far off of, I think it was... I wasn't far from the M1. I wasn't far from Penny Pines, and that little trail is called 17N48 that I initially went down, and I think that leads into private property. I didn't take it too far. I turned down this 17N43 we were just looking at, and it was pretty steep, and there was a few mud pits going down it, but it wasn't undoable. It wasn't much tougher than I found elsewhere. But yeah, if you're not going to get your Prius in there, your new Honda Civic, you're going to need a little more ground clearance.
That's another very good example of a vehicle, the Honda Civic. Although I've seen them get into some weird places, I would not necessarily consider that the best off-roading vehicle. But it comes down to the driver. If you're a good driver and you have some experience in off-roading, you can probably get the Civic most places that you need to get it into.
If we're talking a 5 or 10-year-old one that has an air dam a little higher clearance, you might be fine. But some of the new cars, their air dams are so low to the ground in front. A lot of new cars are going to have trouble going on these trails, I think.
Yeah, but not all of them though. Let's make that clear, because this is a car camping.
True.
Live
Subaru. There are a lot of cars that aren't so bad, but like I've seen like a Chevy Bolt comes to mind. They got a really low looking front end that thing would not do well. But yeah, most any Subaru, even a stock Subaru, I think would probably do fine out here.
We will be, just for those that do have a Prius and Honda Civics and whatnot, I do have a couple of locations that I could show you how to get into, and do even have videos of some of them. And I'm about to release videos of some of the others. So there are places you could get a Honda Civic into, a Mazda M3. We're not saying you're completely exempt from the Forest or BLM by any stretch. There are locations you can get into. Just some of these might require a little bit more of a car than the Honda Civic or the Toyota Corolla. But this one here, good.
Right next to where I was at, Penny Pines and some of those bigger campgrounds, I saw a number of Priuses and other cars that were, hadn't obviously had no problem getting up there and were enjoying their weekend out in the nature. So yeah, you can get here. It just, you're limited to certain roads.
And with that said, we're supposed to be socially distancing right now, and it seems like we're getting COVID. This whole COVID thing's coming back. So social distancing is really important. Well, how about social dispersed camping? Then you're far away. You're not in a campground where everybody's all over the place. You go dispersed camping, you can find a spot where no one's around, and it's all yours while you're there. And you're not going to have to worry about sharing the vault toilet with, say, 50, 60, 100 other people, where you risk getting sick. So dispersed camping is really easy to do, completely legal, and a great way to social distance. So and I would just add that little caveat into this. Before I move on to the next location, Erik, is there anything else that you can think of that's significant that would be, you know, good, bad, ugly, or awesome about this spot?
There was a couple other dispersed campsites I saw coming down into there, and I bet you the road that I turned off pretty quickly coming down here, 17 and 48, probably had another couple. I was finding more around here than I'd seen most anywhere else so far. So if you did try to head to this area, that there's other options nearby. I did see one just coming down into that area, and I bet there's others not far. So
okay,
but if you're going to a place you wouldn't want to play within your toys, yeah, this might want to go elsewhere as far as OHV trails are not open. So. But then again, I knew super quiet and no one near me, and I kind of found that it was really quiet campsite.
We will cover at some point OHV because there's it's a little known, I don't want to say little known fact, but I don't have any other way to put it, that there are a lot of En-roads that are not on the OHV map that you can ride on. So at some point I will find a guest or co-host that'll come on and help define some of that. But yeah, there is more OHV out there than people think.
When you mentioned OHV maps, is that also the same thing as the motor vehicle use maps?
Maybe.
I think it is. I have maps that, yeah, there's about 5 or 6 to cover the whole forest that I downloaded that do show the trails in good depth. So I think that's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know where they went. I might have lent them out or something, but I do have all of the OHV maps that were available as of last May or June. So, but forgive me, as I didn't think they'd come up, so I didn't bring them out.
I didn't see them as useful because they were all in black and white, and they didn't show quite as much detail as the Mendocino National Forest map I was using.
I know which maps you're talking about. They look like newspaper.
Yeah, all black and white, no color.
There's ones that are actually in full color and fold out and are very detailed, very, very detailed. They are also available at the ranger stations. Again, and the ranger stations are within the description of this link, the Covelo Willows, and the third one, forgive me, as I'm drawing a blank at the moment. They're within the description of either the link or their phone number, where you can call them. And remember that they're firm believers in an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So if you call them with any kind of question, they're not going to belittle you and roll their eyes and go, oh God, another one of those people. They're going to answer your questions because they don't want you to be that guy that they have to go clean up after, whether it be the trash, the fires, or fine you for doing what you're not supposed to do. So by all means, if you have any questions or reservations about something, call them. The phone number's in the description of this video and the other videos. Also, before I forget, Erik was kind enough to give me basically it sounded like seemed like the route you took for your last trip. Is that the description you just sent me today?
Yeah.
Okay, I added that to the last live stream. So if you want to know more detail about the route he took in his Volvo 240, you can go back to that description and see the route he took. The end numbers are all listed out, and so feel free to check that out if you want. We're still current on chat. Again, if you guys are watching online, if you happen to know a spot that you would like to share, please throw it into the chat. We'll check it out. Thumbs up, comments, spectacular. Subscriptions, even better. So let's move on to the next spot.
I've got a question.
Go for it.
Maps at the ranger station, are they all for free or just like the more basic ones for free? What do they have available there?
Negative. The map that I use the most, this one here. Make sure I can see what's going on here. This one here, I think it was $15. So they're not all.
Imagine they have for free, and then probably the really detailed ones you'd want probably cost a few bucks.
This one's pretty dang detailed, but it does have a legend where it shows you or tells you, OHV, maintained road, not maintained road. I'm not going to spend forever looking at it, I promise, or looking for it, I promise, but here it is.
I think
Multi-lane highway. Go ahead.
I think I was using a copy of the same map on my phone on Avenza Maps.
Yeah, it's a great map.
I think Avenza Maps downloaded for free, and those National Forest maps were available on Avenza for free. There are other maps, depending on what you're wanting, that do cost money, but I think the ones I chose for the National Forest were all for free, but only digital version.
So I like the aspect I like about the digital maps is you can find the apps, you can find your location, boom, you're there, pin, dropped. When you're on these maps here, you got to actually read the map and figure out where you are. But the nice part is when you find a spot and you circle it, you can unfold it and give people the whole view. You don't have to, use your finger to scroll through the map and then spread it out and zoom in and zoom out. So these paper maps do have their use also. As soon as I make the plunge, even once I make the plunge to get an app, I'm still going to carry this map for that reason.
I want it for backup.
Yeah, plus they never run out of batteries, so they're handy. And then also you're a lot more likely, I've mentioned it a few times, that if you see a forest ranger or prevention officer, generally speaking, if you're compliant and nice to them, they will circle some places on your map and give you some cool places to go visit. But if you do it on an app, they're going to spend a lot of time zooming in and out trying to find this and that, and you might only get one or two, versus on here they're going to real quick find them, and it's like circle, 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 circle. I've got a lot of circles on this map.
Nice.
Which we will over time be covering pretty much all of those locations, and some of them we've already covered. This is not the first where's your pin. Just this is the first one where the first where's your pin that the emphasis is car camping. So does that answer your question, Eric?
Yeah, I think so.
Perfect. So let me check the chat real quick. As far as I know, we're still current. Except for Johnson being a smartass. It's okay. I'll forgive him this one time. Overland Trail Guides. AVNDNA has digital version of that one.
He mistyped up.
Go ahead. It's Avenza. Okay, so okay, I get it. Avenza has the digital version of that one. So does that mean
the map you have on paper was the same map I was using on Avenza.
So does that mean that it's not available on Gaia and on XHunt? That would be my question, because I haven't made the plunge onto any one of them, and I know there's even more of them. And I am looking for input from everybody so that I don't buy all of them. That seems frivolous. So by all means, throw it in the comments. Your favorite app. Also, what general location of where you're watching from. I was very happily surprised to notice that we were not only having people watching from Alaska, but down to I think Tennessee, which is pretty cool. We're being watched all over the place. Oh, actually, Australia also. So
might have been my mom.
Yeah, we had quite the viewership on that one. That was pretty cool. So without further ado, should we move on to this third pin you provided me here?
Sure.
So
I did notice one thing about Gaia Maps. I did try looking at it some, and it seems like with Gaia Maps, you can also download a map, but on theirs you have to like pick a rectangle of the area you want to use and download that rectangle at whatever resolution you choose. And where it was kind of nice and easy going to Avenza and just downloading a whole map of the area I wanted to go instead of like build a map out of rectangles that I'm picking off the map. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is nice because French Ridge gives you something to kind of look for on the map. So Overland Trail Guide says Gaia has some different layers, but I haven't come across that version of the National Forest maps. So I just wanted to throw that in there real quick. And Overland Trail Guides, thank you so much for not only watching, but actually adding to the comments, because it helps us all. It's a community of learners, and let's work together to better everything. So this spot. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. Did you have trouble getting there? Talk to me here.
This was my third night, my favorite camp, definitely the best views. It was a beautiful spot that I actually found on day 2 as I was on my journey. And when I first found it, I almost stayed there because it was so beautiful, but I kind of wanted to go further, so I passed on at that point. And it's up on a ridge. It's French Ridge, beautiful views. That's where you can see Clear Lake to the southeast. You can see kind of look off the distance towards Indian Valley Reservoir. You can't see the reservoir, but you can look off that direction a long ways. And then you're sort of on a ridge where in the campsite, you can't see in the pictures, you can actually see the other direction kind of heading north out of the trees. So there's some amazing views up there. It would be a horrible campsite if it was really windy because you're on the ridge and there's not much protection. But if you're there like when I was, were mild, it was a beautiful spot. There's some shade of the trees. It's not real flat. It's a little more rounded. You could only fit 3 or 4 cars at best, and no one's going to be sitting very flat. Your camp spot's not going to be very flat, but it's a beautiful spot.
You were able to see Clear Lake from this spot because if I zoom out, Clear Lake's not close. It's pretty far. Like I had to scroll out quite a ways to.
It was still quite a few miles away. Yeah, 5-6 miles, I imagine, maybe 7 miles. It was.
Wow,
but so high up there, you could see Clear Lake.
That's impressive. So if you want a view of Clear Lake and dispersed camping, this would be a good one. Now, what about difficulty getting in there in your car in your 240? Did you have any major issues? Was your front air dam still on there?
This one, if you came in like from what's the road? But if you came in off the M1, if you didn't take the route I took in, if you came off the M1 from the west of here a little bit, the roads getting to it aren't too bad. Coming up, I think it was 16N01.
Yeah, 16N01 is what you came off of. That looks correct, yes.
Coming up that towards French Ridge, there's a few spots, but you might be able to make that in something with some decent air dam. It wasn't too bad, and it wasn't very far on those tougher roads off the M1. I mean, the M1, you can take anything. It's paved. It's got horrible potholes. It's definitely a horrible paved road, but it's actually paved.
So you're not going to be going 100 miles an hour drifting around all the turns? Is that what you're saying?
That was the worst road I found in the whole forest, was the paved M1.
Oh, that's a deal breaker right there, because if I can't power slide around my turns, then...
But yeah, you could get a lot of things up to this site. It wasn't too difficult, but a beautiful view going up that ridge because you're for quite a ways. You got great views and great cell reception. I had perfect cell reception at this campsite.
I could live stream from there, huh?
That was the only place I had like full cell signal and could do what I wanted pretty easily.
All right, not bad to know. But again, back to the being on the side of a hill like this. When we have we go from a low pressure to high pressure, and the wind. That's when we really get a lot of wind, or vice versa. We still get a lot of wind. This might not be a good place to be. You might find yourself getting a blowjob the entire time that you're not comfortable with and never going to climax. That would be my saying, to add some adult humor into that one.
Yeah, possible.
So looks like there's a fair amount of shade. How much room was there? Were you really like kind of a little spot just for your car and a tent? Like how many hypothetically?
No, it was the picture you posted of like the screenshot for tonight's show.
Yeah.
Was the same campsite, and there's a decent amount of room, but it was kind of a rolling hill where it wasn't very flat. It was kind of a gentle slope everywhere there. But yeah, you're under the trees, so a good amount of shade, and the trees there are nice, solid, didn't really burn there too bad, so I didn't feel too dangerous under those trees like other camps that the trees were well scorched and probably not as stable.
So for transparency's sake, again, this part is burned. The complex fire did come through here.
Most of the lower half of the national forest burned, so yeah, there's evidence of it. It didn't seem to get it too bad there, and especially like the hillside coming up to that campsite, it was pretty small shrubs. It wasn't big trees. That you can see on the back side of that ridge how big the trees are compared to the south side. You know what I mean? kind of north edge of that ridge, how dark it looks, and the south edge, how much lighter green. It was very different. There's a lot of trees on that backside, and that north edge was rather bleak. And so it didn't.
Go ahead.
The fire grew and kind of re-fertilized the forest. So down the forest floor, there's a lot of green, lush life, but not really tall stuff because it's still recovering after the fire.
Which is, on fire, again, is a part of nature. It does happen. But when nature starts it, when man starts it, it's not so good. But for those of you that are hunters, are thinking about hunting, some of these burn locations a few years after they've burned, they're great places for hunting because a lot of plants are still low, so the animals can access them very easily, but the foliage is still very young, tender, and fresh, so there's an abundance of food. So my recommendation would be to find some water nearby, and then find where there's going to be some sort of fresh growth, and you're probably going to be pretty successful. So not that hunting is a big thing about this channel, but I'm going to just throw that in there. So Overland Trail Guides added, if you upload a track or a route, Gaia will download the surrounding map tiles. So I would imagine, I'm speculating here, a tile is like a quadrant or a grid or a section that I want this section downloaded so I can use it offline. That person was loud.
Like it. That's kind of what I found. You could just download like rectangles at a time of the maps. You couldn't like get a border of the map you have to pick your own rectangle.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, if you got a large, what would you call it? A lot of memory in your iDevice, or a Samsung with a removable SD card or expandable SD card, you can download a lot of maps, a whole lot of maps. Sorry, you guys see me keep looking left. I have the chat open over on this side on a separate computer so that I can monitor what's going on. Well, I can see what you guys are seeing, but I can also keep track of the chat. So that when you see me shifting over, it's not me, dorking off. I'm trying to reply and whatnot. So, anything else you'd like to add about this spot? You mentioned it's got a good view. You can get there in a Volvo 240, which does not have a whole lot of ground clearance. It's rear-wheel drive, not all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. Anything else?
This was, again, there wasn't many campsites in this area. So if you go there and find this one taken, I don't know where you're going to go to find another one nearby. But again, if you do go there and find it to yourself, you're not going to have any neighbors. It's just first camping at its finest.
Oops, I don't want to drop a pin there. So before I move on to some of my locations, I might add that, or comment that, excuse me, Eric came in on Bartlett Springs Road. Let's switch over here. Where's the winery? I should go with this one. Just past the town of Nice. Oh, where did they go? I'm going to get all confused here and zoom out. Town of Nice, Bartlett Springs Road. At the winery, where is the winery? Here it is. So Bartlett Springs Road comes in right through here, 303, comes up and over. So you can take Bartlett Springs Road, which isn't too bad. Last time I was on it, there was a lot of silt, but that was about the worst of it as far as a car goes. You can take that all the way over to Bartlett Springs, which is actually a place, a location. There was a hotel there for a long time back in the mid to late 1800s and then early 1900s. Over to Hugh Springs. There's not a whole lot of dispersed camping along in here, but if you keep going past Hugh Springs, you can start finding some dispersed camping over in here. This is a huge area. It's almost a campground right here. This is right where this is a finger of the Indian Valley Reservoir. There's a lot of camping in here, but also people camp all along this the edge of the reservoir. As you can see, there's little roads just all over the place. So if you want to go car camping and go be able to fish right from camp, you can come in from Bartlett Springs Road, or you can come in from Walker Ridge Road, which meets up with the 20, I'm gonna see if it'll show it. Down here at the 20, you can take Walker Ridge Road. So from my area, Windsor, I'd go north on 101, east on the 20. I personally would take Bartlett Springs Road, but I could also take Walker Ridge Road. But if you want a really interesting drive, going through Highway, I think it's Highway 16 through Bear Valley. Here it is right here. Look at this road. It goes straight, it turns. It goes straight, and then it turns. It goes straight, and then it turns. It goes straight, and then it turns. And then if you take this turn over into here, Road 303, it takes you back up over into Indian Valley Reservoir. So you can access this area from both directions, or all three directions, and there is a ton of camping in here. Personally, this time of year, it's going to be hot, it's going to be dry, really dusty, and fairly populated. A lot of people like to go out here to ride OHV and do target shooting. Not everybody. So don't feel like you're in danger that you're going to get shot. Please do not get that perception. But if you want to be able to fish from camp or go swimming, these are great spots right here. And a car can definitely make it up into there.
But the sound of it, you're probably seeing your neighbors.
What's that?
From the sound of it, though, you're probably going to be seeing your neighbors.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, as you can see right here, there's not a whole lot of plants. These are all like bushes, like manzanita. There, you can see there's very few trees. But if you want to stay next to the water and you want to go swimming, this is a great spot. You can throw your lines in the water right from camp. They do allow boats, but there are heavy restrictions. I believe it's like a max horsepower and speed. Heavy restrictions. Do check the restrictions before you go in there. There is a boat ramp, a concrete boat ramp somewhere in here. Forgive me, as I'm not going to spend much time looking for it. There is a concrete.
I think it's up into the reservoir.
Yeah,
at the bottom.
Well, there's two. There's actually another one down by the dam. There's another one down in here, I believe it is. There's more than one boat ramp. But this is not Walker Ridge Road. This is a branch off of it. And to add a comment here real quick, Overland Trail Guides, again, thank you for adding into the comments. You can get through Twin Valley now. I'm good off a triple-digit death. Again, absolutely gonna be hot here. Not my favorite place to go camping. I'll go camping here, but it's generally like winter time because it's gonna be cold, but it's not gonna be the triple-digit death heat like Overland Trail Guides is talking about. But if you want fishing, you want swimming, you want access from a car, you can get to Indian Valley Reservoir. If you want to do some target shooting, this is a good place to go. Carry a fire extinguisher. It's like a Band-Aid and a spare tire. You hope you never need them, but you're glad you have them. So with that said, I think we're going to turn the tables now, and I'm going to show a few places, and you're going to interview me, Erik. So you ready?
All righty.
So the first one I'm going to show here is what's called Telephone Campground. With that said, though, it's not an official campground. It's like a dispersed campsite that somehow got known as Telephone Campground. I was there. There were a couple of fire rings. It's fairly good size, but it is not.
How did you get there? I'm totally clueless into where we are in the forest.
I'm about to get there. So if I zoom out, this is FH7. Plesket Meadows, Matheson Group Campground. I came in from over here on Road 307, and then I came in. I talked about this in I think it was the last Where's Your Pin. We call this the hump road because there's a big berm right here to divert the water that's flowing down to keep the road from eroding. This is a really cool, in a Subaru, you could make this. It's a lot of fun. It's got some cool transitions. The view right through here overlooks southwest. Really cool. Great place to kind of park and like have some cheese and wine with the wife kind of thing. Great place. But you can also access it from FH7. FH7 is Forest Highway 7. From my end on the 101, I turn right heading east off the 101 on Highway 162. Once you hit the National Forest, it changes from Highway 162 to FH7, Forest Highway 7. This road, FH7, incredibly smooth. They did this year grade a fair amount of it. I'm not saying all of it. You can't drive 1,000 miles an hour and power slide around all the turns, but definitely you could get in there car camping. Absolutely. This one is also, like Eric was talking about with the last one, this is kind of a slope. So during, those pressure changes and weather changes, you're going to get some, fair amount of wind. But it is really kind of an interesting spot. I did a video walkthrough there, and I promise you I will get it up right away so that you all can see what it actually looks like from the ground. There's a couple of fire pits back in there. There's a couple of poles people have erected vertically and then horizontally to like stretch an A-frame kind of tent or a tarp over it. Somebody even left a clothesline with clothespins there. So if you want to do your laundry, in theory, you could go over to the spring, which I have a couple of videos of, gather some water, come back here. You can do your laundry and hang it up to dry. So it's an interesting spot, one that is worth at least checking out. I wouldn't call it my favorite spot, but I'm not going to limit this show to spots that are only like the best of the best, because that would be my opinion. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm going to give you just my opinion of the place and let you decide if you like it or not. You might find it fantastic, and that's great. So Telephone Campground is fairly easy to find on the map. It says temporarily closed, but it's dispersed camping. Again, it's not an official campground, although people may think so. And this is because it's listed as a campground, does not mean you can have a fire there right now with the fire restrictions. So just so you throw that little caveat in there so you don't get into trouble. But again, if you're, let's say, a little bit of experience driving and want to kind of break your cherry, this is a cool road to do that on. I had a great time driving this one. It was a slow drive, but it was a lot of fun. I would definitely check that one out. And you can get to it from both ends. You can actually see there's a couple of different roads. You can enter in through both ways. And then right up, go ahead.
Pretty much we should put it out there. Pretty much all roads are slow drives. Even the M1, I'm sure the FH7, some of these easier roads to drive, it's not safe going very fast. The turns are pretty blind around some of them, and if you're not paying good attention, accidents happen. I know, Dylan, you're out there.
Yeah.
And
going up Pole Mountain, an 18-year-old was coming down in an F1. We were in an overland, I think it was an 04 Tacoma with rock sliders, and this thing was built real well. And we were going about 15, 20 because we were looking for a car that we knew was in the area and had fallen off the road, and we had a lot of recovery gear. And the kid came smashing down the hill, and we stopped because we were going so slow. But because he was going downhill and going at least 30 or 40 miles an hour, he was deemed at fault. When he slammed the brakes, he just slid. He was on his side, and he just slid right across the road right into us. And he had one of those aluminum bull bars in the front, just smashed that thing right into his radiator, just destroyed it. That Tacoma, it shifted the frame, I think, a ½ inch. Never was quite the same, but we were okay. So, yeah, by all means, when we're out here, we're not out here to race. We're out here to enjoy the view and enjoy the drive. So, by all means, take it slow. Like I was just saying, this road, FH7, is actually pretty – and I thought this was actually Mendocino Pass Road, not Alder Springs. But regardless, take your time. There's a spot I'm about to show you that, fortunately, we were going slow. And if we were going fast, we never would have seen it. An epic vista that I do already have a video up. I'll show you the GPS coordinates here in a little bit. Take your time. You're going to find more. You're going to be safer. You're going to see more wildlife. It's going to be a better experience. There's a time and a place for everything. So I kind of leave it at that. Again, all of these locations are within the description, so you can click these and find them yourself. Right-click the little load it up in Google Maps. Excuse me. Right-click and hit directions here. It'll lead you right here. This is really simple. For me, it's 101 162, which turns into FH7, and then after that, it's this one turn right here, and you're there. So if you can remember 101, 162, and then this 22N27, you're there. It's pretty simple.
Is this campsite, did it burn at all? It looks like the trees are pretty tall there still. And
no, this is unburned, all unburned.
Nice.
I
it's
heard
kind of north of where the fire got to, roughly, then, huh?
Oh, very far north. Very far north.
Nice.
One of the things I really like about this area, there's a lot of En-roads up in here. I don't know if I can show it. A lot. Get rid of this. A lot of En-roads. A lot to explore. Far more diverse or dispersed camping and places to explore than the areas south of here, in my own opinion. Lake Pillsbury, it's great. It's got the M1. It's got the M6. Not a whole lot of En-roads. If you want a lot of En-roads, there's some cool stuff. This one here, the 22N11, I've mentioned this a bunch of times. Black Butte, you only got to hike the last little bit. I don't think a car could make it up that road. It's been a while, but I made it up in my stock 2500 four-wheel drive. Didn't take out my DEF tank. Keller Lake, awesome. Both of them have videos on my channel. Feel free to check them out. I do believe the locations are in there. So, again, with all of that said, though, this one, in my opinion, it's kind of dry, kind of dispersed. There's not much tree cover. These trees are pretty short, and you're on this hillside where you're going to get a little bit of a blowjob again. So, with that said, I think I'm going to move on to the next one. Oh, wait, here we go. We got another comment. I need to 311 to M6, highly recommended. Okay, well, I'm not totally familiar with 311, but I am familiar with the M6. M6 is a fantastic road. It's not the smoothest road for cars, but I have seen a Mazda M6 make it in there quite a ways to the swimming hole, which I just launched a video a couple of weeks ago. They made it in there, but she is an experienced driver, but she had no issues. And the M6 leads to a few other places. Kind of follows the Eel River a little bit. The other nice thing about part of the M6 is you're in the game refuge. So if you want to get away from most people at Lake Pillsbury, because most people go to Lake Pillsbury because it's close. They go there because they can ride a lot. And again, there's a shooting range down at the lake on the airstrip. But it's really close. People pretty much congregate there. You come up into this area here I'm showing you, you get a lot less people. So if you're a social butterfly, go to Lake Pillsbury area. You're going to run into a lot of people. Go hang out at the hang glider spot. You'll meet people that are really nice. I've met a lot of people there. But this terrain right now, it's higher up, so you're going to find that the snow melted not long ago, which means that this area is just now coming out into green. Some of the plants are how would you say this? Only half the growth they're going to be before they die off. This is a fantastic area to go if you want to get away from beat the heat, so to speak. I found that when I'm here in Windsor, I'll leave and it'll be in the 90s or high 90s. I'll get up into here. I've talked about this spot a few times. I'm on a broken record. I'll go stay in here or over right in here. I have videos of both of these spots. It's going to be perfect. Maybe 70s. Awesome climate. And right now, this is lush and green, whereas Indian Valley Reservoir, Lake Pillsbury, hot, dry, ready to burn. This, I'm not going to say isn't ready to burn, but it's a lot nicer climate this time of year. It's fantastic. Absolutely. And yes, you could get a car into any one of these spots. I don't want to talk too much about these because we've already covered these. But if you haven't seen the other live streams, feel free to reach out to me, leave a comment, and I will gladly drop a pin or guide you or whatever I need to do to help you feel comfortable getting there. This is the road that goes down to the spring water, which again has a video. Highly recommend at least checking it out. So again, this climate is going to be totally different than going to Lake Pillsbury. Much, much nicer in my opinion.
You say cooler daytime temps. Does that mean much cooler nighttime temps?
Yeah.
And you got a bundle more?
Yeah. We were there 2 weeks ago, and it was pretty much in the I think we hit the low 50s at one point, but it was in the high 30s at night. And that we're in what, June? So do be prepared that it's going to be cooler, but that, we're also, the weather keeps changing, and when you get up into this kind of altitude, the weather acts a lot different. I did just launch a video yesterday about, well, not this one. Well, actually, this was in the video, two-way radios, and the amateur or entry-level ham radio that I show in the video. You can type in the frequencies, and I have listed the frequencies in my previous videos. You can tune into the weather forecast from the Mendocino National Forest. The Mendocino National Forest does their own weather broadcast. They're supposed to be at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., but I've actually heard them before at 11 and lunchtime. So do be prepared for that. The frequency, I guess I probably should add to this description, which I will after this video, but I have it in the other ones. And I would highly suggest checking out the video about radios, because we go over a few points that not necessarily everybody thinks about, and we talk about some of the differences between, say, like the off-the-shelf from Walmart or Cabela's radio versus an amateur entry-level ham radio. So with that,
you say 10.
What? You broke up on that one.
You're saying, you were saying 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Is that like when they update the daily report? Because doesn't it just loop constantly all the time of the latest report?
Well, how about this? I'll just show you.
I've heard weather radios before that just kind of loop through the report, and they must update after a while. I could see 10:4 being the time that might.
Am I not on YouTube? Let's see here. Where are
it's not like it airs just at 10 and 4 just for a short part of the day, right?
No, I'll show you videos. It's in the beginning of the video. Here it is. I think it's at the end over in, here it is. The music probably makes that hard to hear. Well, that didn't
in this sense, yes,
quite so well, but basically, I have this frequency listed. You tune into that frequency, and they cover the eastern, the western side of Mendocino National Forest, and they cover the humidity, the high temperature, the low temperature, the fire danger. They cover all of that. It's a broadcast that lasts, I think, like 3 to 5 minutes, and it covers all of that information, and it is daily. It's supposed to be at 10 and 4, but again, I've heard them at 11 and I've heard them at noon. I usually just leave the radio on. Oh, that's right. I got one of the radios right here, actually. So I'm able to type in the frequency I want to listen to, and then I can tune in the weather forecast and know what I'm getting into that day, which is really, really handy, especially up in here in these, in the higher elevations is really important. So not that the premise of this video is radio. Sorry to get off track, but if you want the weather forecast, because I mentioned in one of the live streams that I was out here camping 3 weeks ago, and that was the only way I was able to get the weather forecast. I wasn't able to get it from home. I went and got the weather forecast for Covelo, which was great, but the weather was not the same. Totally different. So when I pulled up here, I got out the radio and I tuned in the frequency. I'll throw in the frequency for the that they're using for the weather broadcast at the end of the show. I'll throw it in the description so you can tune it in yourself if you have one of these radios. And this is just an entry-level ham radio. This was not very expensive. I don't remember the price, but I probably should throw a link to this also in the description. Not a problem. Very handy. Plus, it's actually capable of doing 8 watts, which we're not legally allowed to do without a ham license. But if you get into trouble, forgive me, I'm going to turn it up to 8 watts. I'm going to get my signal out there that I'm in trouble. I need help. So again, check out that video. Really good. So let's move on to the next spot, which is actually, I believe, right next to that one. Yep, there it is. So if you look, you're actually right next to Telephone Campground. We were just talking about this one. Now I'm talking about this pin right here, which you actually enter in.
Just one more thing
here.
One more thing in my research on ham radios, you can get a basic one, a pretty good basic one for about $30.
Oh, I hear
so
stuff
there's
in the
definitely a
anyway,
portable entry.
So from here, this spot here was kind of cool actually. There's somebody built a little outhouse down in here that is made. They've got metal siding. They've actually got like an RV kind of like toilet thing that I guess you put bags in there or something. There's a fire ring and a bench. Plenty big. As you can see, someone's got an RV over here. There's another guy over here. You can get a car into here, no problem. You might even be able to get like a Mazda M3 into here. It was pretty smooth drive. And again, this pin in the description. If you want to get directions, it's there. This is a cool spot. And again, I have so many. When I'm out, I record so much video. I probably did. I think I hit 300 gigabytes of video the last time I was out. It's a lot. So I have, I think, 5 or 6 videos that I just need to get. We work on them every single day. We're working on making new videos that are not live streams. They're videos of, here's the spot. Here's a tour with the camera. Sometimes do a flyover with the drone to give you as much information about that particular spot as I possibly can. This is a fun spot, but again, it's kind of near this bluff. Not a terribly good view, but again, this is all up to you. What do you want? I'm just going to share these locations that I found, and you can choose for yourself what you think of them when you get there. You can always pull into this spot and go, nope, not for me. Go on to the next one. Start a telephone camp. Pull in there. Go check this one out. If you're not happy with it, go over to this one right here. You come around FH7 and enter back in here. It's a real short drive from there, but along FH7 and all these end roads, there's a ton of dispersed camping. Kildry Creek further up where it meets 22 and 21. There's a cool campsite right there. There's actually a couple of them. There's one in one spot, and then there's another one like 100 yards away. So you could have like, let's say, 2 different families and still feel like you're, a couple degrees of separation, but still right next to each other. You're, hey, dinner's ready. You know what I mean? It'd be perfect. So this is another spot that I would suggest people check out if you want to go car camping. Check it out right here. Yeah.
Roughly how long does it take getting to this area, like coming off of 101 or
Eric? I think we're moving.
Civilized area. Okay.
Yeah, that is you. I was wondering what that sound in the background is. I can barely hear you. I'll turn you up. Is that better? Say something again.
I was asking about how long it takes roughly to get out that area, like from 101.
So with my truck, the way I go, where I tow a 6x10 box trailer in my Chevy, driving the speed limit, just taking my time, enjoying the view, no rush, 4 hours. In my car, I could probably make it in 2.5 to 3. But that's driving like unsafe speeds, like real fast. But in my car, in my truck, let's just say 4 hours to that spot. But again, driving the truck with a trailer, I'm limited to 55 miles an hour. All the bumps, I'm not hitting it with 2 axles. I'm hitting it with 3. So I got to slow down. It takes exponentially longer to haul a trailer out into these spots than it does if you just went with your pickup truck, or if you went in your 240. If you went in your 240 and you were asking me how long, I would probably say, let's just say 3 hours to give an easy number from Sonoma County. That would be my guess. Overland Trail Guides asks, do you have these saved to a Google My Maps? He puts in quotes. If not, I highly recommend it if you want to share with others. That's a really good reminder. I say reminder because Dylan Riggs said that, and I haven't set that up. And I have every intention to. I guess I got to claim laziness. I haven't done that. But they're within the description, so I get some kind of leeway on that one. But I definitely, because you're not Overland Trail Guides, you're not the first to say that. I definitely got to get off my backside and get into that. And I'll share every location I go to. I got nothing to hide. I'll share them all. So with that said, let's move on to the next. This is not necessarily this is not a spot I would camp at, but I wanted to share it anyway. This one and the next one. This is right on the edge of a bluff on both sides, or all sides almost. You'd get a huge blowjob. But the view from right here, oh man, because look, Anthony Peak is right here, and this is 6,950 or 954 feet or something like that. So you're really high up there. The view from, if you go to Anthony Peak, you got to take this turn off, you got to park over here, and you got to check this out. The view is awesome. I've actually done a few selfies with the drone, or dronies, I guess they call it. Done some epic pictures of my car from right here, because the view looking south from right here and southeast, amazing. Absolutely worth stopping and checking out on your way to Anthony Peak. If you haven't been to Anthony Peak, I highly recommend that. The road has these switchbacks, which can be a little gnarly, so a little bit of experience would be good. But my Subaru makes it up there with no issues at all. I've been up there a couple times. Actually, I've been up there a bunch of times. In the Subaru, only a couple of times.
Now, how much have you been when it rains and it gets muddy and slippery? Because I think that could really change the experience of one of these journeys. Like what I took, it was all dry and a pretty good grip, but I think those same roads in the rain might have been a bit different. Have you been out there when it's really...
My experience with the rain is I've had no issue. The only time I've had an issue was Indian Valley Reservoir, Bartlett Springs Road, going down the switchbacks last November. The silt was like 8 inches thick. So when the rain hit it, turned into this goo. Dangerous, because you'd slide right off the road. I would still drive these in the rain. I would have no problem driving these in the rain in my car, and probably even in your 240. I would do it. Not a problem. That's a good question, though. So thank you for asking and bringing up more points. Again, this is why I like having other people on there. So Overland Trail Guides, have you made it down to the rock on the north of Anthony Peak on the 4x4 trail? Not sure which rock you're talking about, but I'm about to go to another spot that's right next to this one, which is on the other side of the mountain, which might be what you're talking about. And are you saying that you say we'll be up there for the meteor shower come August? So I mean, you personally will be up there? Because yeah, that seems like an epic spot to watch a meteor shower, because this is like the highest point around for a long ways, and you're not likely to run into a lot of people. Of course, no, I think that was a spoiler alert. We'll probably just ruin that for you there. But yeah, you're really high up. A whole mountain would be a good one too. But if you look how far out you are from the rest of the world, Anthony Peak is way out there. So here's the 101. Here's the coast. Here's the I-5. So as far as light pollution, not going to get a whole lot better. Not at all. Right here is this whole area, as a matter of fact, is going to be great.
Everywhere I found, same thing. The star viewing was amazing. Yeah, there's not much PG&E to drown out the starlight, so it was beautiful out there.
Absolutely. A fantastic place. So I'm not recommending this as a camping location. I'm recommending this as a vista. Awesome vista right here. So Overland Trail Guys just mentioned you can see Mount Lassen in the Pacific on a clear day. Absolutely true. I do believe you can even see Shasta from right there, because I've seen a couple. I haven't been able to verify it, but I've seen more than one snow-covered peak looking in that direction on a clear day. The view from up here, I did a live stream to Facebook from right here, which wasn't the greatest quality, but man, the view from here is just spectacular. And I don't know how they get there, and I don't know where it is on the map, but there's actually a little house. You can see it from Anthony Peak. It's like right in here. I guess someone like lives there, or it's like their weekend cabin. It looks like there's a road right in through here. You can see it clear as day from Anthony Peak looking down, what is this, west? You can see that. That would be an amazing place to stay. I hope it's an Airbnb.
Fire lookout?
Huh? That's the fire lookout, is Anthony Peak.
Okay.
before COVID, they would actually they would give you a tour of it and let you inside. But I don't think they're doing that with COVID. You can go up here, and there is actually a public bathroom right here, which last time I was in there was spotless and clean. But you can still go there and admire the view. I just don't think that they're going to have anything to do with you. They're going to want to be social distancing from you up there. But absolutely, man, if you want a day trip in a car that's like not an M3, not a Corolla, but something like a Subaru or your 240 with some all-terrains, I'd check this out. Absolutely. I do have a video of Anthony Peak up with the drone that shows you some of the view from there. You can also see, zoom out, from Anthony Peak, you can see the Central Valley. You look right through this valley right in here, you can see this Central Valley right here. It's pretty epic spot, absolutely. So again, not a camping spot, but a vista. I got a couple of those tonight that I wanted to show, because the premise of the Where's Your Pin is not just dispersed camping, but maybe fishing locations that are out in the middle of nowhere, vistas, or water springs, or just something that you like to stop and just admire the view because it's that epic. That's what the Where's Your Pin is all about. So I thought I'd throw in tonight a couple of these. Now, again, I've got one that's on the other side here. Let's switch over to that one. Here it is. So the previous one I showed you, okay, there it is. So the previous one I showed you is right here with this rock, but you come, or this is on the other side of the mountain, this big turnout. This thing's huge. I mean, look at all the tire tracks. The view from here, just as epic, except you're looking northwest, north, and northeast, as opposed to southwest, south, and southeast. This view is also spectacular. It just goes on and on and on. So if you want a good spot to get a really cool panorama with the wife and kids, or a real cool shot of your car, this is a great spot, because the view behind your vehicle would just be spectacular. So
would it be really quite brisk if it's a windy day? Would it be a chilly spot if it's really windy?
Yeah, and well, depends on the day. It's not so bad during the daytime, because you're kind of exposed and the rock absorbs some heat. You're definitely going to have some wind. Well, you know, in the morning's a good time. There's not much wind. Evening, not too bad. Afternoon, you're going to get some wind. Again, this is not a spot I'm recommending you camp. Although you could. I wouldn't recommend it. But, I mean, there's people that camp on Everest with those, you know, gale force winds in the snow, in the blinding rain, or I repeated myself, blinding snow. So, you know, if you don't mind the wind, sure. You want a great epic view as soon as you unzip your tent or step out of your box trailer. I would not take a travel trailer or an RV up in there. It's going to get beat up pretty good. Yeah, epic view as soon as you open, or like you, Eric, you bring your car. As soon as you open your tailgate, just boom, right over your feet, you're going to see an epic view, because the nearest ridge line, shoot, well, I can't see it here. Let's just leave it this. It's a long way off, a very long way off. I didn't realize how close it was to the M1. Anyway, you could actually see Anthony Peak almost from Covelo. This peak is the tallest of all of them. So by all means, check it out. But again, this is a Vista. You could take a mild car there. I would not take an M3 or a Corolla, but your Subaru, your 240 with all terrains, check it out. Absolutely. Not far down the road from there, I believe it's right here. There's a spot you could camp. You can see people have driven around in through here as like a bypass, kind of like, hey, check this out, right in through here. There's not a lot of dispersed camping up in here, but there is some. I was here in April 25th. This was the snow line. We couldn't make it further than right here in April. We could make it here, no problem. But as soon as we hit here, it was a foot deep. I came back April, May, June, middle of May. And at Anthony Peak, the only snow I could find was basically, let's see here. Oh, right in here. There was a huge snowdrift right here. But that was it. That was the only snow. But this was a massive snowdrift right here. But again, it wasn't on the road. We were able to make it in May. So we're still currently caught up on the chat. So let's move on to the next spot. Bink.
I need to warn you, my batteries are getting a little low. It might drop out at some point. The other headphones are acting up, and I can't charge with these headphones. But
oh, okay. Well, we've been on for a little bit. How long have we been on for anyway? I don't know. Anyway, we'll just keep going. You drop off, you drop off. Just take it. So, yeah. This spot here, I dropped the pin because of the intersection. As far as I know, this side of the M1, this is the M1. North of Hole Mountain. So if you went from like Lake Pillsbury and kept going past Hole Mountain, or came in from 162 FH7 and headed south on the M1, this is how you get there. Let's see if we can zoom out and actually find Hole Mountain to give some frame of reference. Yeah, okay, so Hole Mountain. And then 162. Come on, load. Okay, it doesn't want to load. Well, I'm not going to spend all day waiting for it to load. The reason I brought this spot up, oh, come on, don't give me internet issues now. There it is. This road right here, I've been on here a couple of times. There's some really cool dispersed camping up in here. And the temperature also up in here is higher up, or not higher up. The climate is much nicer up in here because you are higher up. It's a lot more forgiving. It's a lot more, 70s, 80s. You're not really going to hit the 90s and 100s at all. I've stayed here a few times. Each time I stayed here, never saw anybody the whole time I was there. It was just me and the group that I was with. There's several different trails that aren't even really on this map that just meander through. A whole lot of dispersed camping you can do in here. Now, as far as cars go, if you came in from FH7, there's a lot of switchback and a lot of washboard, but it's actually that's the worst of it. So a car could come in from that direction. But if you come in from Hole Mountain, you're definitely going to want something with a little bit of ground clearance, like Erik's driving or my Subaru. So those kinds of cars can make it into these spots, no problem. But this is a spot I would highly recommend this area. If you're looking for something new, something easy to get to, Lake Pillsbury, Hole Mountain, M1, keep going up. This little meadow is pretty obvious. It stands out pretty good. It's the only one for quite a ways. And then you backtrack up into here. And again, this pin is within the description. So if you want to find it, just click the link. Google Maps will load up and take you right to here. Right click, boom, you've got directions. So this is to be a spot I would recommend checking out for most people. These spots are not necessarily on the bluffs, so you're not going to get a lot of wind. It's going to be real mellow, a lot of shade. Great place to go. I can't speak highly enough. You know, as far as like dronies and car photography, like you want pictures of your car in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of trees, sure, but you're not going to find that like epic backdrop like I was just showing you. You got to go to other places like the ones I was just showing you. This is a great spot, but in an effort to sort of expedite things here a little bit, let's move on to the next one here.
Another question. Going up the top of Hole Mountain, it sounds like an epic vista point, and it's not far off the M1, as I understand. But is the road going up to the peak is rather steep? Do you think it's something I could try my Volvo? No problem.
Okay, so I don't know the exact date, but let's say 6 years ago, I was sitting at the intersection where M1, and then it takes off and goes up to Hole Mountain, which is actually a rather steep climb, and I wouldn't take your Volvo on it. I don't even know that I'd take my Subaru on it, to be honest. But again, it comes back to the driver. I saw a sheriff, a Mendocino County sheriff up there in a Crown Victoria.
Because that sounds like I can make it. If a Crown Vic can make it, I'd give it a try. Shoot.
Again, it comes down to the driver. And that just drives that point home. The driver is what it comes down to. And I'm a little nervous to scroll down because I don't know that my internet's working so well. I think my son's playing games in the other room. My roommate might be watching some Netflix or something. So I don't really want to scroll out anymore and ruin this entire thing. But yeah, Home Mountains are definitely worth checking out. I wouldn't take a car up there, but it's worth checking out. And yeah, I saw a Crown Victoria at that intersection. I had to pull over and compliment the guy. I was like, dude, you got that car in here right on. I never would have guessed you would have made that. So furthers the point again that I've seen good drivers in junky cars get into places that I wouldn't think they could do it. That guy did it. So I gave him props for getting his Crown Vic up into there. Now, why Mendocino County Sheriff was all the way up there when there was nothing going on and no one up there, I don't know, but whatever. He made it.
TVs too. Yeah. But it's not far from M1, right? It's a pretty short distance.
This is the M1 right here. So the pin is located right off the M1, and Whole Mountain is also off of the M1. It's another intersection. You could probably make it from the M1. So from the M1 to the peak of Whole Mountain, you could probably make it halfway in your Volvo. And the last half isn't that bad a hike. It's worth making. If you've never been there, I would do it. It's definitely worth checking out because that used to be a fire lookout also. I don't know what happened to it, but it's no longer there. The pillars that held it up are still there. The staircase to get up to it is still there. I've been there a million times. I don't really want to go back, but I think I have a video of flying my Super Cub with a really crappy camera up there. But it's a cool spot. If you haven't been there, definitely check it out. So moving on. Let's see here. Plesket Ridge. Lost my train of thought on this one. Oh, okay. Vistas. So here we are. We're talking about vistas. Point of reference. Shouldn't have done that. I broke it. Okay, so while it loads, hopefully, there we go. Keller Lake down in here. Black Butte up in here. This is 22N November 11. I have a video on YouTube of this spot right here. This is one of those spots that we were driving real slow, and I went, oh, look at that. Stop, stop, stop. And we pulled in, and you pull into this little road right in here, and you park. The view from here is epic. Now, you could stay there, and you could legally disperse camp right there. No problem. It's on this bluff, though, so you might get a little bit of a blowjob. But look at this view. You're looking down into this valley, and look at all this stuff. Look how far you can see. Just awesomeness, if you ask me. So if you want to go, 22N11 is a great road because you've got Keller Lake, you've got Black Butte, you've got Atchison Campground. Excuse me. If you're the road's not too bad, but there's a lot of rocks, so your 240 would make it, Subaru would make it. You probably could make it in Mazda, but I don't know that I'd recommend it. But for sure, Subaru 240 with some all-terrains, no problem. Epic view. That's why I wanted to share this spot, because of the view. Again, this pin is within the description already. So if you would check the description right now, you'll find it there right as is. Definitely worth checking out. And this doubles back. You can do a trip from, let's see if we can show it. You can pick up 22N11 off of FH7, and then it comes around. So the peak is somewhere in here, but you can bypass the peak on 22N11, go hit Keller Lake, go check out this vista, and then go up into Black Butte, and then get back up onto FH7. And if you wanted to, after that, it's not showing up, go hit Plesket Meadows, go fishing. Oh, here it is. It's right here. Plesket Meadows, right here. Trout fishing's pretty good, right? It is. They stocked it last year, and the fishing was epic. Last time I was there, the number of fish had definitely thinned out, but this lake is fed year-round by a spring, so it's got fresh water. It's clean. It's clear. They don't taste like trout farm fish. I don't know how many of you have eaten fish from a trout farm, but it is not good. You can make this part of the FH7 in a car. I have seen a Prius on FH7, a Prius. So if a Prius can make it, you can make it. in your Mazda, in your Corolla, whatever. And there is actually a campground right in here with vault toilets. Real nice campground. Very, very nice. The Matchison group campground is right over on the other side of the road over into here. From what I understand, the price is very affordable, and you can have a whole bunch of people stay there. It's a campground, and you get the whole thing to yourself because when you reserve Matheson Campground, you're reserving the whole campground. So definitely we're checking out Plesket Meadows. I've kind of beaten that one into the bush. I don't want to talk about it too much more. Very beautiful. If you haven't been there, definitely check it out. I have done this on a day trip. I left one morning at like 4 a.m. or 4:30 or 5, really early. I made it there, and I had line in the water at day as soon as the sun boom was up, and I could see lines in the water. I spent the rest of the day driving around on the end roads and exploring things, and then headed home. I did it all on the same day on one tank of fuel in my Subaru. So that's a great place to go check out. Is Plesket Meadows and this campground. Again, the Vista, any of these spots we've talked about, you can do in a car. I highly recommend it. Let's go back over here. Oh, we've lost Erik. I guess he lost his thing. So I'll go back to sharing these sharing these pins. At any rate, if you have any questions or comment, oh, you came back on. There you are. You're back again.
Yes.
If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me on YouTube. I'll leave a comment. You can find me on Facebook as Dylan Panko, like it says on the screen. Send me a direct message or private message. I don't know what kids are calling it these days. And I will respond. I will do my best to give you the information you're requesting. If I don't have the information, I'll do everything I can to try and steer you in the right direction. Everywhere that I go, I have no problem sharing. If you need any advice or even like, sleeping bags. Last time I was out, the gentleman that was with me didn't know that the 40-degree bag meant that you'll be alive at 40 degrees, not comfortable at 40 degrees. So if you have questions like that, I'm here. Camping generators, all of those things, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, I'm not affiliated with, I don't work for, I'm not sponsored by, I'm not incentivized. And any of those, I'm not even an attorney. I don't work for the National Forest, and I don't work for BLM. So use the links that are within the description to find your information. If you want a definitive answer to stuff, write the National Forest in an email, and then you can print it out. You know what I mean? Then you've got, well, according to this, I'm trying to keep my fingers within the camera. According to this sheet of paper, I'm allowed to do this. Or call them up and ask them for information. I highly recommend when they reopen the ranger stations, checking out the maps, picking up a couple of them. Gaia's great, but what if your cell phone dies? Spare tires, right? So having doesn't run out of batteries, something that you can tune in different frequencies, I consider them invaluable. You hope you never need them, you never want to use them, but when they're there, man, they could save your life. So I'm trying to set up another live stream coming up I'm hoping next week. I'm trying to get the guy to commit to doing talking about ham radios. So the legality of using, this radio and talking about GMRS and FRS versus something like this that technically to broadcast at full power, you need to have a ham license. I operate at 2 watts, so I'm allowed to use this. You could listen into the Forest Service. I can use it. I was using it the other day to listen into the local fire department because I was hearing a lot of sirens. I can listen into all that with these radios, but I can't broadcast. You broadcast, I believe it's a felony. So being able to tune into the Forest Service, the police stations, all these different things is invaluable. But I can also tune this radio to talk with this radio. You can find if you type in frequencies for GMRS and FRS, it'll come up right on Google. I do have another live stream where we talk about all the different frequencies that you can use, but I'm hoping to do a live stream specifically about radios because in my opinion, I don't think I'm ever buying another one of these. The price difference between this one and this one was like $30, maybe 40 at most. And with this one, like I said, I think this is 2 watts. This will do 8 watts, but I'm not allowed to because I'm not hand licensed. But I can use it as a scanner. I can use it to listen into the police because we're in California, all our fire danger. If we're evacuated, we can monitor CAL FIRE. You can monitor air-to-ground CAL FIRE, all of those different things. If you want a bit of a summary, check out the video I just launched about radios. And we kind of go over some of that. And I'm praying this guy commits to next Tuesday because I really am excited to hear and learn the legalities of what you're allowed to do, not allowed to do, and recommendations, and his opinion on these longer antennas versus the shorter antennas and all that kind of information that I haven't a clue about. So with that said, though, I want to go back to the car camping. 60% driver, 40% vehicle. As Erik has demonstrated, he's gotten his vehicle into so many, not so many, but a bunch of locations that that a lot of people would say, there's no way I could get my car into there. Well, Erik proved that you can get your car in there. I think you have some pictures you sent me. Let's go over a couple of those. Look, he's got his toes in the water. So, that's not a Jeep. It's not a Tacoma. It's not a lifted Chevy. It's a Volvo 240. All due respect, Erik. But look at some of these places he got into. I mean, that's a beautiful little meadow. And you got your car in there.
Yep, it got me everywhere I wanted to go. My car didn't stop me. It was nice.
Yeah, so don't feel that because you only have a car that you can't go disperse camping. You're stuck at KOA. You're stuck at a state campground. You're stuck at Plesket Meadows campground. No, you can disperse camp in a car. Follow a channel like this where we're talking about places you can go. I'll drop a pin. You can go right here. We will help you with those things. And there are more locations. I just don't want to divulge all of them in one night because we got to do another Where's Your Pin. So
there's lots and lots and lots more.
Yeah, exactly. And this is that same campsite you were talking about with the burnt car you were shooting at with no tannerite. So you can get into some of these places. Did you actually take this trail right here?
I'm not seeing what you're looking at right now. It's just showing us two on the screen.
Oh, my bad. I am so terrible. Share screen. See, that's one of the benefits of having an additional person on here. We go here. So there we go. So I'll start over again. There we go. It's loading up now.
Yeah, this wasn't far. This wasn't far after coming off of Bartlett Springs Road when I'm on 303A heading north.
But you were able to get your car in here and drive through a little river, a little creek, a little stream. There was, where it's called.
On this stretch, there was probably half a dozen of these little streams. Really mild, easy water crossings. So
yeah, and
there was a lot of water crossings, but they weren't challenging at all.
Yeah, exactly. So you could take your car into here, and there's lots of dispersed camping. That's the main emphasis I'm trying to drive home is the dispersed camping. We're just getting out into the woods to get away from everybody because right now, KOA is the last place I want to be with this COVID stuff going on. The state campgrounds, actually any campgrounds, I don't want to be around them because I don't want to get sick. And if I'm sick, I don't want to get them sick. So dispersed camping, this is the perfect time to go dip your toes in the water and experiment and learn, try something new, expand your horizons. And then this is that meadow I was just talking about. I mean, that's really pretty. You made it there in your car.
This is Twin Valleys. I think this is Twin Valleys.
Yeah,
not far from the last picture.
It's a great view, and you made it in your car. So by all means, don't feel you're limited because you have a car. There are places you can get to. Here's your car next to that, and then so the road I was asking about was this one. Did you actually make it up this one in your car?
That was the route I was headed. Yeah, it looks tough from a distance, doesn't it? But yeah, it wasn't tough once you were on it. I mean, a little momentum helps in the spots. If you stopped right on that steep hill, it might have been challenging, but I just had a little momentum and kept into it, and it made it fine.
And you have no lockers, no posi, no limited slip, none of that?
Nothing installed like that. All open diff right now. I will plan that stuff in the future, ideally, but right now, no. It was stock in that sense.
Nice. So let's see what else you sent us here. Some more views. I mean, look at this stretch of road.
This is on the M10 where it's really flat and easy. You know, this is kind of getting close to Bear Creek. But yeah, M10 is one of the nicest roads out there. It's really wide and smooth and easy. It crosses, you know, like this would head to what the entrance to the east side that I think like Dylan Riggs might come in on. This would come that way.
Oh yeah, because he's coming in, would likely come in from the other end, probably from the 5, because he's in a totally different area than we are. We're in Sonoma County, and I don't know what county he's in, and I don't want to say the town he's in because he's not here to give me permission. But this looks like you had a bit of a mild transition here, but you still made it through.
Oh, this was no problem. The M10 is one of the. It's kind of like a forest highway. Where this one, yeah, this was when I was going up after that deep water crossing, and then the other deep ruts. This is the most challenging road I took, and these ruts were really big, and I wasn't certain I wasn't going to get stuck there. So I threw my traction pads down to make it easier to get through there. And yeah, with little tools like this, there's even more places you can go that you may be limited to without them.
I'm seeing those
having a few extra tools like this. I felt confident to go a lot of places that would have been challenging, but didn't prep a little.
Again, they're like a Band-Aid. You hope you never need them, but when you need them, you're glad you have them. I'm seeing a lot of people are starting to carry those. So let's see what else you sent us. I think we talked about this one. And we were talking about the trees and removing.
That was the top of the same hill. Yep, we had to turn back. And
if it's private property,
south the way I came in north.
If it's private, don't touch them. But in the summertime, I probably wouldn't do it. But when we're not in fire danger, I carry a chainsaw, I carry a chain, I carry strap, I carry a shovel, an axe, a fire extinguisher, and a bunch of water. I'd drag this SOB out with my Duramax. I wouldn't think twice. I'd pull it right up out of the way and keep on going.
Smart coming that prepared. It's smart coming that prepared. You know, you could go down one of these roads just fine, and then a few hours later, the wind could blow something over, and you could find the road blocked that was just fine a few hours earlier.
Yeah, well,
I have those tools.
Yeah, but I'm lucky enough to have a 3/4 ton diesel truck that I can throw anything and everything in there, and it doesn't care. So, and put it in 4 low, and it will just idle this tree out of the way, even if I didn't cut it. The thing's a beast. I love it. Another view. I mean, look at this. This is in a car. Not many. How many people are actually ever going to see this view right here? Very few, because they don't. For one, they don't know it exists. For two, they don't know they can even get there. But look at that. That's a beautiful view. You even got a nice little sun flare going through here. I like that. So again, don't be discouraged. Go out there and enjoy the forest. Take your car out there. There are places. The pins that we have dropped are in the description. Check them out. If you want some additional places to go check out, feel free to hit me up on Facebook or send me a direct message, and I will respond right away. They come through instantly, but because I'm in construction, a lot of times I got earplugs in. I don't always hear it. But when I see it, if I'm on lunch, I'll even reply to you on my lunch hour. If I'm laying down watching Netflix before bedtime, I'll respond to you. As long as I'm not in the middle of like a phone call or something, I will respond to you. Reach out and touch base with me. I said this, a little side note, I said this in the last couple of live streams. I think for sure the last one. I'm 99% sure I'm going out camping, and it looks like without the family and currently alone a week from this weekend, the weekend of the 4th of July. Not sure where I'm going. I got to admit, I'm really curious about the M3, but that Daniel Dempsey of Overland Family Man has been talking about. I got to admit, I'm really curious. But the number of En-roads. What's that?
Me too. You got me curious about that area as well. It's kind of where I want to check out next.
Yeah, so I might end up going in there, but users, or not users, that was a terrible word, I'm so sorry. Viewers can definitely influence where I go. You got a spot that you're curious about and I've never been there, mention it to me. If I can get in there and it looks cool, I'll go check it out. And not only will I check it out, but I'll record the whole darn thing. Yeah. GoPro. My Osmo Action's actually doing a time lapse of a flower that's been going for 3 days now. multiple drones. I cover it all. I try to give you as much information as I can, and I always try to drop a pin within the description so you can find that exact spot yourself. Oh, I almost forgot. I actually have. So we talked about one of those, that vista where you turn off 22 and 11. Oops, here it is. That's that vista point I was just talking about. If you turn off the 22 and 11, which is near Keller Lake and Black Butte, look at that.
Gorgeous.
That was just a picture we snapped with a cell phone. We didn't even like frame it up. You can actually see down inside that valley. Also, if you actually hike down a little bit better, down a little more, you get even better photographs. I think I have one more in here, but it's, you know, this is a portrait. I don't like portraits. I like landscapes. But look at the view. I mean, you can see some snow-covered mountains over in there. This is a really cool spot. Again, a pin is in the description. And this spot right here, I actually have a video specific to this vista with the pin. So feel free to check it out. I think we've about covered all of your photographs also, except for the fact that I think someday we should light paint this car. If you don't know what light painting is, Eric, you should look it up. I've done a couple of them. I've done my truck and I've done my car. Definitely.
No, I don't know what it is. I'll look it up.
Look up light painting. And if you're interested, as a thank you very much for coming on with me, I'll meet up with you and we'll light paint your car. It's a lot of fun. It takes a long time because you take about 25 pictures and each picture has to be set up. So it takes a while, but the end result, amazing when done right. So I don't know if anybody else out there does light painting photography, but if you do, definitely, if you're into light painting and camping, hit me up for sure, because those are two things that I absolutely love to do. And I have a lot of intention of, I've been looking for places to go do to light paint my vehicles out in the forest, because with light painting, you're not snapping it. This is taking a picture. With light painting, you're doing it in the pitch black and you're creating the image. You're using flashlights and other sources of light to illuminate what you want the way you want. So for instance, the headlights, I take one picture of the low beams, I take a picture of the high beams, I take a picture of the parking lights, and then I take a picture, I put a light bulb on each individual seat, and I take a picture of each one of those. So I'll put one on the driver's seat, take a picture, passenger seat, take a picture, all three of the rear seats, the trunk, every one of those is a picture. And then we go around and we light paint one side, we paint the front, we paint the hood, we paint the roof, we paint the windows, we paint the mirrors, bring them all home, put them in Photoshop, and the next thing you know, you're left with this epic image that no one else has of a car. So
sounds awesome.
It is, absolutely. If anybody has any other questions or comments real quick, now's the time to throw them in, because at this point, I'm pretty much going to call it because we're at about 2 hours. I'm not opposed to staying on for a little bit longer. If you got any questions or comments, throw them in now. So we'll remain on here for a couple of more minutes to see. But in the meantime, again, thank you all for watching. We still have some viewers watching. Thank you. It means a lot to me. The view timing is great. Thumbs up are tremendous help. Comments in the chat are great. Comments within the video are even better. And subscribe and hit the notification button. I said it before, I don't get paid for any of this time. I'm doing it on my own time, my own dime. All these cameras I paid by swinging a hammer. Eric is not compensated in any way. We're doing this as a favor to everybody to kind of share our experiences and share them with the world and get other people out there in the world, in the forest, to enjoy it. And hopefully also maybe save a life, because we're showing you where you can go that's not KOA, where you're going to make everybody, or not necessarily you, but maybe somebody else is going to get everybody else in KOA sick. You go dispersed camping, you're within your own household or whoever you invite, so you can filter out everybody else and be by yourself. And we're going to do our best to keep this COVID thing contained. So dispersed camping is perfect for what's going on right now. I can't encourage it enough. Dispersed camping. So please feel free to check out the description. All of the links to these locations are in there. Mendocino National Forest for the campfire permit, harvest permits, the general Mendocino National Forest website's in there. the BLM office for Indian Valley Reservoir is in there. And I will add in the frequency for the radio to get the weather forecast. If you have a radio, you can tune in the frequency, which is required. You can get it from the Mendocino National Forest. I do have these radios, which I actually got at Walmart, which have weather on them, which is broadcasted from NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They do one out of Point Arena. They do one for Sacramento. And then I think it's Lakeport area. Those are great, but they're not the Mendocino National Forest. If you want specific weather, you're unfortunately going to have to buy something like this. But again, the price difference is, well, actually these Walmart radios are really cheap. But the price difference between this radio here that charges via USB and whatnot and from Cabela's, you're talking like $30 difference. It's not much of a difference at all. And in fact, with this radio here, it came with both antennas. You can change the antenna out. If you don't want this giant one that's really sensitive, you can screw on a really short one. It's a lot easier. These offer you a lot more flexibility. Also, they allow you the little like cop microphones you can plug into this and all kinds of cool. This one also has a little flashlight, which is pretty cool. So again, I go on and on about radios. I'm praying this guy responds about Tuesday's live stream about radios, but if not, we'll come up with something else. We always do. Let's see here. Oh, we got another comment here. I gotta go. Time to finish up on work. Okay, have an awesome night, y'all. Nomad, thank you very much for watching. We're out of here also. Eric, if you'd remain,
thank you, everyone.
If you'd remain on the line here for a moment, Eric, I would be greatly appreciated. Sure. But to give you a public thank you, I can't thank you enough because it makes things so much easier having a co-host to help me think of things that I might not have thought of. I can't thank you enough.
Thanks.
So again,
thanks for having me, Dylan. It's been quite an honor being a part of this.
Oh, thank you very much. And if anybody else has a really cool story, reach out to me and let's see if we can get you on. If Eric shot me a message out of the blue on Facebook and said, "Hey, I just did this trip in my Volvo," and then next thing you know, he's on here and been on a couple of times, and it's been fantastic because I've been looking for somebody who does car camping, and he reached out to me. So if you have an interesting topic or an interesting vehicle or some area that you really would love to share, reach out to me and let's see if we can make something work. I'm always looking for something new. So in the meantime, Eric, stay on for a moment, and thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate your time. Bye-bye.
All right.